Hi everyone, I'm Gracie Owen, CEO and founder of Compost'd.
And I'm Jacob Hamburger, the COO. Today, we're going to guide you through the world of composting, specifically through compost bins.
Every time I leave for college, my family banishes our compost bin to the garage due to the bugs, odor, and fuzzy mold like this. This mold is just one of the great features that come with compost bins today, and if you throw in a couple dozen maggots, it looks exactly what was in my kitchen for all those years. Unfortunately, that's the reality of what's on the market right now. In fact, 68% of composters we interviewed were highly dissatisfied with their indoor bin.
And we get it, composting may seem pretty niche, but its relevance to climate change is more pertinent than ever. In the US alone, 108 billion pounds of food waste made their way to landfills just like that one last year. And upon that food waste arriving at the landfill, it decomposed and produced gases like methane and nitrous oxide, contributing to over 8% of greenhouse gases emitted annually.
Composting alleviates these issues. Firstly, it improves soil's water retention and nutrient composition, increasing water retention over 95%. It also reduces waste as it diverts that food waste from landfill. And finally, the finished product of compost actually is a carbon sequesterer, making composting extremely carbon negative.
At Compost'd, we believe in the science of composting and want to contribute to it by making it as ubiquitous as recycling itself within our waste management system. And that's why we created Compost'd, to create a product, a system really, that customers actually want to use and not just tolerate, while giving the market exactly what it needs. Now you may be wondering, how can these bins help save the earth? Well, let's break it down. When you're in your kitchen, you produce organic food waste. Think banana peels or coffee grounds, and you put those right into a compost bin just like that one. It serves as a holding tank right between your kitchen and a compost pile, where that compost eventually becomes a nutritious addition to your soil. Now, these bins are the definitive broken link in the compost life cycle, a link so broken that it deters people from composting in the first place. And that is a problem worth solving with massive amounts of financial potential.
Clearly, these bins just aren't working, so we decided to create a solution. Introducing the Compost Caddy. This is our patent-pending silicone bag that can hold up to 1.5 gallons worth of food scraps. Here's how it works. You can put your food scraps into the bag and then close it using your thumb and forefinger with press fit technology, just like a Ziploc bag, and you can actually squeeze the air out to maximize your space. It's stored in the freezer to slow decomposition and thus eliminates bugs, odor, and mold. To empty, just take it out, open it, push off the bottom for touch-free, mess-free disposal, and then you can throw it in the dishwasher for full disinfecting with our antimicrobial silicone. But you don't have to take our word for it. Over 98% of those we interviewed with our final product design were floored and approved it at our current price tag. Composters are so excited that we have a solution for them that they can reclaim their kitchen space with the appropriate waste management mechanism.
And as Gracie alluded to, the other alternatives in the market are simply insufficient. As you can see, most follow a simple bucket design and are meant to be stored directly onto your counter. Now, we'll spare you the pictures of the maggots, but suffice it to say that each of these alternatives are absolute breeding grounds for all kinds of filth. The Caddy answers all of those problems, reducing any sort of bugs and odor while eliminating any possibility of mess. And it does so without any of the recurring inputs that many of these alternatives typically require. Now, let's go further into what those recurring inputs actually are. Right, so first you have your filters, which mask the odor of a compost bin. Second, you have liners, which acts as sort of a garbage bag within your compost bin. Now, when used concurrently and routinely, those two recurring inputs can add as much as $37 a year to the price of competitive products. The Caddy, on the other hand, requires no recurring inputs whatsoever. It's built for the freezer and the dishwasher, creating an all-in-one sustainable solution. And with one purchase, a customer can have over 10 years of viable product use.
But don't worry, he said no recurring cost to the consumer. We do have a recurring revenue stream as well. We have two revenue streams, and I'll walk you through both. The first is the sale of the Caddy itself. We sell it for a $27 product price tag, and then the cost of goods manufactured per unit is only $3.50. Then we create a margin of 87%, which actually will rise to 92% once we're able to scale. Next is through strategic partnerships with compost pickup services. These services operate the same way as your recycling and trash pickup services. They're just through third-party vendors. They want to be listed on our site and pay us a customer acquisition fee for everyone that we acquire for them, of either a one-time cost of $12 or a recurring revenue of 50 cents every month. Let me show you how that works. All the customer has to do is input their zip code, and they can see what options are available to them. This ranges from free options such as dropping off your compost scraps at a farmer's market drop-off location, because we want to make sure this is still accessible for all, and that's part of our Give Back program. Next, you can also look into compost pickup services, compare plans, and sign up for one. And in doing so, that's when we acquire that customer acquisition commission.
Now, in terms of our positioning within the market, we're at the right place and at the right time. The U.S. residential composting industry is projected to grow 450% by 2030, largely fueled by increased governmental attention as well as increasing climate change awareness among consumers. And that's just the residential market. It doesn't involve any businesses or any international markets as well. And that explosive growth is fueled by a number of favorable macroeconomic consumer trends. More specifically, that 67% of non-composting households say they would compost if it was easier and more affordable to do so, which is exactly what Compost'd is trying to bring to the space. Additionally, consumers are increasingly worried about the effects of climate change, both on themselves and their communities. And we are too. And we're channeling that wave of concern directly to our pre-sale website.
Our pre-sale website serves as a source for B2c sales as well as our Amazon page. Next, we'll be targeting these B2b sales through residential compost services. They are knocking down our door for our product, as we already have sales underway for about 200 units per month, putting us at about $64,000 in revenue for year one just from those negotiations. Next will be B2g Sales. These are really important because municipalities are forcing their residents to compost, but their metrics are low right now because it's a low acquisition rate of getting people to actually start because they hate their indoor bins. Different municipalities are putting out a siren call for better receptacles, and we want to be their next supplier by year 3. Now, these are our market segments. Let me break it down. First is our dissatisfied composter. That's my family and I. We're the 19% of the US population that are tired of the bugs, odor, and mold. And this market is our target market that's ready to pay for a new product today. Next are the patient composters. They're individuals who are looking for a bit more proof of concept, so they'll probably come later in year 1. They're looking for proof of concept through sales reviews, so we'll be sure to target our first target market first, and they're looking for a lower lifetime cost, which is exactly what we can provide. And next is the prospective composter, the 64 million US households that don't currently compost but are willing to with an affordable and accessible mechanism. We provide that because we have the most affordable product on the market and we're the most accessible by creating an all-in-one ecosystem that encompasses indoor collection and outdoor disposal in one marketplace.
With sustainability being at the core of what Compost'd does, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, lie at the forefront of our mission. According to our own calculations, one household utilizing one caddy regularly for an entire year can save as much as 1 ton of CO2 emissions from ever being emitted into our atmosphere. That's equivalent to that same household's entire electricity usage over that same year-long time period, which goes to show Compost's prioritization of the triple bottom line, of planet, of people, and of profit, by creating a quality, reusable product to facilitate composting, and by democratizing that technology by lowering our consumer lifetime cost. Compost'd is pursuing environmental justice by serving each of these communities.
Our team is really excited to be working on this, with Jacob and I serving as the head of the management team. He and I have actually worked together in the past in a food service industry, as he served as the chief executive and me as the sustainable director of a catering company. So the two of us have worked on those skills to be able to build this today. My own background is also in consulting and food waste management, and his being in investment banking and venture capital. Now, we also have a great team backing us with a web developer, a product designer, and a full social media team. And our advisors are incredible that have gotten us to where we are with over 10 years in digital solutions experience, 15 in environmental impact enterprise, and 30 years in environmental manufacturing. So we're pre-revenue right now, but we've gained traction in a lot of other ways. First, we're members of the Georgetown Ventures Accelerator program, and we've gained sponsorships like City Ventures and Allbirds. We've also completed different steps along the way, such as a customer discovery process with over 300 users, an MVP process where we got our hands a little dirty, started making some things, see what worked and what didn't. Then we did our prototyping with over 7 different 3D prints, and then landed on our final design for a 98% approval rate, which has led to our B2b sales influx of sales calls.
As Grace discussed, the $40,000 from today's competition would make our go-to-market strategy absolutely imminent. It would help us complete our web development and launch our digital marketing pre-sale campaign. In addition, help us short manufacturing and ensure our very first production run, while also securing our intellectual property through the completion of our design and utility patents.
Thank you all so much for listening today. We hope that you see our vision for building a composting space that bridges people, planet, and profit. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Compost'd from Georgetown University. Judges?
Great presentation, by the way. I think both of you work really well with each other, and it was clear on the value prop, on the product. What I need to understand a little bit more, because I do recycle, I don't compost. How does it work? So I let's say I put everything in your caddy, and then immediately I have to put it in the fridge.
So the way it
freezer?
works, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the way it works is whenever you have any food scraps that like your stale bread left over from Trader Joe's, right? You put that in your compost caddy and you can store it in the freezer. You can use it on the countertop as you cook if you please, but the freezer is what slows decomposition. That helps us guarantee that there will be no odor, no mold growth because our silicone is antimicrobial, and no bug attraction whatsoever. This is the only product on the market that can actually guarantee that, as we've shown with our testing so far. Once you're done with that, you have to have some kind of disposal option. The same way your trash goes somewhere and your recycling goes somewhere, your compost has to go somewhere. So some people compost in their backyards. If that's not something you want to do, I know it's not something I really like to do. I like to take mine to a drop-off location because I don't want to pay for a service. Other individuals where time is of the essence, they pay a pickup service to come pick it up for them each month, and it's really easy. You just pop it out similar to an ice cube from a silicone ice cube tray, and it can completely invert on itself. So you never have to touch anything that's inside. You will never get your hands dirty, I promise. And then it goes in the dishwasher. So you don't have to clean it, there's no scrubbing, and it'll completely disinfect it so there's no mold and bacteria growth long term.
Got it, thanks.
Of course.
Yep.
What's the difference in the benefit, or what do you see the difference in terms of not having a bag? So like I've had composting foisted upon us, and but we have a bag, and so it's small and it's sort of nasty. But at least you just close the bag up and chuck it in it goes out with our lawn clippings.
By bag, do you mean those little green compostable liners? Yeah.
Exactly.
So those liners actually rip a lot. They're known for being notorious for ripping and leaking. So that's something that we wanted to avoid. I know they rip and leak on me probably 10 to 15% of the time, and all it takes is one moldy avocado getting on your foot, and trust me, you'll never want to touch it again. So that's why we tried to create something that you could tell even like the most picky of waste management individuals that they can take this on. It's also those compostable liners cost people money. Municipalities tend to provide them in year one when they first provide those bins, but very few, only about 10 to 15 cities actually continuously provide them, which leaves you paying for them every year, which is a recurring cost that we help you avoid completely. So our bag essentially equates that in cost in under a year of what you're going to pay just for those liners.
First, I echo Abe's comment about the presentation. Absolutely incredible. Very well done.
Thank you.
I will never look at my compost bin again in the same way because you brought this issue to life, frankly, more than I cared to.
I'll send you one, don't worry.
But and I understand the problem. I believe the demand. And the question is, one, where do you stand on the IP?
Yeah.
And how will you scale this business to meet the demand that I think you're going to create?
Great question. So our IP is really important. There's currently not a single low-tech provider in the composting space that has any intellectual property, which is like gasp-worthy. It's ridiculous. Because there's nothing proprietary. They essentially just gave you a mini trash can and asked you to go for it and expect no bugs. So we already have a provisional utility filed. So once we handle our full our full utility, that will be going into effect probably by late October. No one else can create a elastomer-based compost entity for the freezer. I will completely monopolize that space. I'm also filing a design patent, as my seal itself is completely patentable, as well as the caddy as a whole. It's a proprietary design in both. That's based on our legal team's work in prior art search. So we have the option for about 3 different opportunities there. In terms of scaling the business, we're trying to create an overall ecosystem. So this product, there's no doubt that the target market of the inpatient composters like myself are dying to have this product. But moving beyond that, we're trying to ride these macro trends of municipalities forcing composting on their residents, as well as B2B groups trying to increase their food waste knowledge. So we're going to scale by offering branding deals. So different companies like Sweetgreen is a fellow Georgetown alum that we're close with, and we want to work with them long term. We would love to be able to slap a logo on it. Our manufacturer can handle that for only about a 5-cent increase per product, which is really, really minimal, to be able to scale with them so that we could be on their rewards program, as well as those B2g sales. The B2g sales are important because the municipalities are paying for them. They're huge contracts ranging from about 5,000 units all the way up to over 1 million if you're living in like San Francisco. That's the contract that we want to be able to build. We can sell them wholesale for anywhere as high as $11 and as low as $7 based on what the target market is and how big it is on that contract. And the B2B sales are also great here too with these residential compost services because they are expanding so quickly in their metropolitan areas that we're only going to grow with that. Those 200 units are just based on conversations with 17 different composting services. I've got a list of about 300 more to get through, and every single compost service we've approached with this has asked to be able to A, sell our product, and B, be able to distribute it to their users to keep their churn rate low as possible.
Where are you making these?
We're making it in the U.S. Actually, a facility in Oklahoma. It's a silicone manufacturer that has based in consumer goods manufacturing. We wanted to keep it local, not only for U.S. jobs purposes, but also to be able to make sure that we can maintain a really low carbon footprint. It's important to us to keep our footprint low. And our manufacturer also will be distributing, doing drop shipping for us. So it'll keep our warehousing costs really, really low. So we'll start with about a batch size of 200 units and scale to about 1,000 by end of year 1.
So thank you. And so as this kind of evolves and you start to get traction, how would you think about either a licensing deal or an acquisition by someone like a Rubbermaid or someone that does this at scale for a living?
I love this question because there are a couple different silicone bag companies on the market. If you've ever heard of Stasher, that's probably the most common one. Stasher, I'm an avid user of theirs, love them. However, it's impossible to get things out of them. Their zipper does not open wide enough. It can be a bag built for about 1.5 gallons, and all you can fit in it is a bagel through the opening. That doesn't make sense. That's why our rendering is 180-degree open disposal, and that's why, if they're smart, they'll license our bag for them. Our utility patent will only be in the composting space right now. We're looking into being able to see if we want to extend that into just food storage in general, but we'd be more than open to licensing our technology to them in a space like that. Rubbermaid also has been making initiatives to move into the silicone space as well to make better bags, just because Ziploc bags are falling out of fashion with the more sustainable consumer, and we'd be happy to contact them as well.
So by the way, great job on finding a U.S. manufacturer with low MOQs and great margins on your product. So can you elaborate a little bit more on just the complementary products that you might consider?
What do you mean, complementary products with our product?
Yeah, I mean, is it just going to be a one-product company?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think for us, the Caddy's where we want to launch off, and the idea being that we create an ecosystem for our customers, right? We want to be very intentional with the idea that we're not creating as much of a product as we are a system, right? An ecosystem that customers can say, I don't only compost, I compost with Compost'd, right? And creating this sort of ergonomic experience for our customers, akin to very much what we saw with Allbirds, and in our discussions with them, that was something that we very much saw eye to eye on in terms of that synergy. And so building off of that in terms of complementary products, we certainly think that obviously the current Caddy's built for the residential household, but we've been very much looking into a commercial product, something that could be used in, say, a kitchen or something bigger, especially as municipalities begin to enforce and mandate composting, right? It'll almost, just drive up adoption rate by virtue of these macroeconomic trends. So we're certainly looking into different iterations of our product. But we think this is a perfect launch point because we find that the most frustrated consumers are the ones in the house, the individual residents.
You're going to need a bigger freezer for that.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
are. You definitely are.
When you talk about the potential for B2g and municipalities kind of forcing this upon the residents, when a government does that, they obviously have to scale it pretty quickly, and obviously providing a bag is a little bit of an easier proposition than providing your product. So how would you kind of deal with that particular issue as far as ensuring that you have enough supply to get out there in a fairly quick amount of time?
So our manufacturer can actually scale up to, by year 2, they can scale up to 100,000 units. By year 3, they can hit 500,000 for us. It's based on what kind of capacity we want to be buying out from them. So if we need to be able to secure 500,000 units, we can do that. The city of LA, that's going to be a harder for us to hit by year 3, just because of the scale of the size of it. But a city like my hometown of Charlotte, that's something that we can actually target them pretty quickly with our scale by year 3, and then we can actually hit those bigger cities in bigger scale by year 4. So that's part of what we're able to offer them. We're also able to show them that their services are only as profitable as how many people actually start using them. And because the current adoption rates are so low, in some cities like Arlington, Virginia, it's like 27% right now, and the city government is so upset by it. That's where we can actually step in and show them our extreme value add there to help them actually ramp up their program faster.
Thank you, Compost'd from Georgetown University.